Hey everybody, today we're going to do a deep dive into the U.S. Senate election in Arizona. This is the seat held by one-term incumbent Kyrsten Sinema. She was elected as a Democrat, she since became an independent, and she's called it quits after the one term. So this should be another competitive battle, but Democrats are expected to have an edge. So let's start here on Ballotpedia with a little bit of background information. So the nominee for the Democrats is Ruben Gallego. He's been in the U.S. House since 2015. Prior to that, he was in the Arizona House, and he also has some background in the military. His opponent on the Republican side is Kari Lake. Lake has not held elected office. She ran for governor just 2 years ago. It was narrow, but she came up short. Prior to that, she's known as a longtime local TV news anchor. There's also a Green Party candidate on the ballot. So let's see how they did in their primaries. Well, for Gallego, he didn't have any challengers. It was just him, and he got 100% of the vote. Kari Lake, she did have a somewhat competitive primary. She got a majority, 55% of the support. Mark Lamb was under 40. If you like to compare raw vote totals in the primaries, Democrats got just under 500,000, Republicans at 740,000. I don't think that has much bearing on the general election, especially when Gallego did not face any competitors. Now let's go down here and see how this race is rated. Well, as of the last updates, we got Cook Political Report and Larry Sabato have this at lean Democratic. Decision Desk feels a little bit stronger. They have it at likely Democratic, and Inside Elections has it at tilt Democratic. My own rating has been lean Democrat. I think given the state's leftward shift over recent elections, that's going to make it a little bit easier for Democrats. Also, Ruben Gallego used to be considered more of a progressive. He's since kind of backed away from that, as people do in the general election, and he's trying to appear more moderate or centrist. Kari Lake, on the other hand, she's definitely a firebrand personality and has a strong appeal to the Trump base. But given that the state tends to prefer more establishment Republicans, that can be a challenge for Lake. She also has to deal with how she's challenged the results for her loss for the governor's race a couple of years ago. There could be some voters disappointed that Gallego has backed away from his progressive credentials, but overall he's trying to look more electable. He's trying to make Lake look more out of touch, at least to the more independent or suburban type of middle-of-the-road voter. Now down here past the endorsements, we've got the campaign financing. Gallego has a big cash advantage here. Democrats looking for an upgrade here over Sinema, who used to be a Democrat and became an independent. So the money has flowed in for Gallego. But money is not everything. Lake also has a good amount herself. She's going to hope that this state's history of electing Republicans has not completely passed her by just yet. Now let's take a look at how a few of these counties have trended on a presidential level. By far the biggest county, which has over 60% of the population, is Maricopa. If you go back to 2012, Mitt Romney won this county by over 10 points. It narrowed considerably in 16, but Trump still carried it by 3. In the last election, though, it did flip. Biden carried it by 2. So with so many people living in this county, every single percentage point could be highly consequential. South of there in Pinal County, this county last time actually voted very similar to how it voted 8 years prior in 2012. Biden at about 40 to 41%, while Trump is at about 57 to 58. So not a lot of movement there either way. South of there in Pima County, another county that has decent population, but it's moved toward the left. Back in 12, Obama won it by 7, but in 20, Biden won it by 19. So that's a lot of movement away from the Republicans. One county that has moved in the Trump direction is going to be another key border county of Yuma. Last time, Biden was pretty much stagnant with Hillary, while Trump increased his support by about 4.5 points. Now most of these other red counties that have low populations, they were already going to Romney by landslides. But then once Trump was on the ballot, he was able to get that support up even higher. Now there's not that many counties here. Some of these other blue ones have large Native American populations. But once you even everything out, it's pretty much a purple state. Maricopa is going to be where all the action is. If Gallego wins this county, it's going to be very unlikely that Lake would be able to win this seat. Now for some comparison, let's go back to 2020 when they had a special election for the U.S. Senate. And this was also during the last presidential election, so it's going to have had higher turnout. Here, Mark Kelly flipped this seat formerly held by John McCain. It was close, but he won it by about 2.5. If you go down to Maricopa County, remember that Biden was at about 50, Trump was at 48. Here, Mark Kelly is at 52, and McSally is down there where Trump was at 48. So that margin is similar to the overall statewide margin. But McSally also underperformed Trump, and Kelly overperformed Biden in Pinal County, and she just didn't have the margin she needed to be able to win this seat. Now, if we go back to the last election in this state, that was just a couple of years ago, and it was again between Mark Kelly. He defeated Blake Masters by about 5 points. Here again, if you take a look at Maricopa, this almost mirrors the overall margin. Kelly at 52, Masters at 46. And where Tucson is, in Pima County, Biden was at about 58, Trump at 40. Here Kelly is up to 62, and Masters is down to 36. That's just not going to get the job done if you're the Republican here. So there's reasons here for Democrats to be optimistic. They've been able to win most, but not all of the recent statewide elections. The Phoenix suburbs are a significant reason as to why the state has gotten a lot bluer, but it doesn't mean it's completely in the bag for the Democrats. Now let's move on to take a look at their official campaign websites. Here it is for Ruben Gallego. If you want to take a look at where he stands on some of the issues, his endorsements, support his campaign, etc. And here it is for Kari Lake. It looks like her official website redirects to this. This looks like some kind of a low-quality knockoff, but the rest of her site is here. Again, I'm not positive why that other page redirects, but if you want to read about Lake, her endorsements, her events, etc., it's all right here. Now, what about any debates? Well, we got one. It was the other day. It's good to see these two get on the stage. I'll give them some credit. I watched the debate. Immigration was a very dominant topic. Gallego is trying to moderate his position. Lake is trying to hit it hard. Again, as I said earlier, if that issue is of importance to you, I don't think Gallego is really going to change your mind. Lake is going to be the tougher candidate. What if you're looking for abortion? Here, Lake has tried to moderate her position. And if this issue is important for you, you're going to go for Gallego. Now, in the debate itself, of course, Lake has a ton of experience being on TV for years, so she's not at all nervous, but I do think she interrupted too many times. Now, either you like how she says what nobody else has the guts to say, and she's going to shake up the system, or you think she's too extreme and too unelectable. I would guess a lot of voters are either going to come out for Lake or to vote against her. Gallego is a little bit more of an afterthought, in my opinion. Now, let's take a look at the current polling. Right now, once you even out the aggregates, Gallego is ahead by 8.2, so that's kind of a comfortable lead. The individual polls all have Gallego ahead. Most of them have him over 50%, while Lake is in the low, occasionally the mid-40s. Now, there's always a chance there can be late movement in the final couple of weeks, and the polling might not be accurate, but an 8-point lead I would think is enough for Gallego to think he's at least slightly favored to win at this point. Now, for comparison, let's see what the polling accuracy was like back a couple of years ago in the midterms. So this had Mark Kelly ahead by about 1%. Now, he actually won by almost 5 points, so that is an underestimation of Kelly's support. Some of the individual polls here did have Masters ahead slightly. I remember this race, it did seem like Masters might have had some late movement, but in the end it didn't really pan out. This was also a midterm year, so the turnout was going to be different, but this is one that did have a bias for the GOP. Finally, let's get on Polymarket and see what the market is showing. Here, Gallego, the Democrat, is heavily favored at 89%. The Republican Lake is only at 11%, so that's a fairly overwhelming advantage there for Gallego. I don't think it's completely in the bag for him unless he's able to maintain these significant advantages all the way into Election Day. So what is the conclusion here for Arizona? Well, this formerly red state has gotten its purple status. The suburbs have been a problem for the Trump brand, and that's going to extend to Kari Lake. It doesn't mean she can't win this race. She's certainly fired up. She's got the key issue of immigration on her side, and the party in power in the White House, which is the Democrats, is not really viewed favorably. But I think her biggest weakness is going to be abortion. Also, she did just take a statewide loss a couple of years ago. That's fresh in a lot of voters' minds. So potentially taking back-to-back losses like that is not at all going to be a good look. That's going to be similar to someone like Stacey Abrams. So given that Gallego is trying to appear more moderate and the overall trends of this state, that could definitely be enough for Gallego to win this seat. I still think in the end it should be fairly close. There's always a chance Lake pulls it out. If she did, I think that would send some shockwaves through the Senate, but we're going to see how it goes. So let me know in the comments, what do you think about this Arizona Senate race? You think Gallego is favored? Do you think there's a chance Lake could pull it out? What about the different issues, dynamics, and demographics in this race? How about Maricopa County? Let me know down below. On your way out, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Join if you'd like to help support the channel. Hit the bell for notifications. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.